Cineverm.
I want a lot of coffee. I mean, that would be a lot for you.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
Oh, that was mine.
Well, you said it was the same.
Yeah, but simple. That one looked like a mushroom. Hello and welcome to the Cineverm show, where we review and discuss films playing in theaters. This week we watched the film about love, water, and amphibious men. My name is Anthony Renteria, and with me is the wonderful Chicken Strip.
Chicken strip in the house.
Alright, so let's just start off with this. The Shape of Water is directed by the amazing Guillermo del Toro. The film is a beautifully told love story wrapped up in a 1950s research facility. It's basically one part period piece in the 1950s, one part fairy tale, and the entire thing is a love story. The film features Sally Hawkins as Eliza, Octavia Spencer as Zelda, Michael Shannon as Richard Strickland, and Doug Jones plays the amphibious man. And then Del Toro also wrote the script with Vanessa Taylor. Alright, so what did you think of The Shape of Water?
I loved it. I loved that of how it was set in the 1950s. I noticed how disgusting racism was even just in like 50 or 60 years ago.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's really strange how this film feels like it was made, like you could take away all the cars, all the props, all the costumes, and put all those characters in today's age with, in current America, and it would feel strangely familiar with the way how the characters were treating other people. Like the idea of, like, America is a certain thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you have, like, KKK marches and people being openly racist and stuff. Like, it seems accurate. Like, it seems, like, really familiar to me. I mean, basically all the characters that aren't even the main characters are pretty much racist as crap.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Well, I guess what I'm just trying to say is the familiarity is just that there's still such a large amount of people that feel that way. They're just more silent about it. But you can still see it in the way they look at you. Yeah. Like, a lot of the things that happened, it wasn't them, besides that restaurant moment. You know, like, it wasn't as outspoken. You know, like, It's just an implied racism.
Yeah. That was very true. Like, you were saying that they're just, they're not trying to be racist, fully racist, but they still see you as lesser than them.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the way they communicate with, like, with the, what is her name? Zelda? They treated her so bad. Yeah. Just because she was black.
Well, even, like, class, there's a lot of class representation in the film.
Definitely.
That was, you know, like, what's your income level and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
It was, I liked all that political stuff of what America was representing at that time.
Yeah, it literally looked like everyone was measuring dicks. Like, I really loved it because of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a very cool part, the world that it was placed in. But hands down, my favorite part was just the directing and the visual element of it all. Like, there's very few films that feel like they're, like, breathing in what they are, like, down to, like, the frame, to, like, the inch of everything displayed. Yeah. I mean, there's, like, you know, watching a Guillermo del Toro movie, you're gonna get, you know, some crazy costume designs and art pieces, and the location's gonna be amazing, the costumes, and just the overall, like, art style. But I feel like definitely this film is his best directing job that he's ever had. Like, there were so many scenes that just looked beautifully, like, framed, and that meant that implied a lot of meanings. And are like a very, like, his artistic eye has increased by like 20 times. I've always like loved Guillermo for everything. But if there was one thing I would say like is his greatest weakness is that, like, direction wise, I never saw him have like an eye, you know, like Edgar Wright or Wes Anderson. Like, you can tell, like, visually, like, just how they set up their shots, you can tell what director is doing what. In this film, he truly like stepped up his game to a whole nother level. Like, there were some shot designs that I was just like, wow, that's so genius. Like, even down to the transitions, there was a whole like montage scene. Oh, we can't talk specifics. But I mean, it's so appropriate that the film is named The Shape of Water, because it is literally, the entire film is like represents the water.
Yes.
All the way down to the color, like
everything was so blue.
And green.
Yeah,
and
green.
It's even like down into the script. Everything is like nearly perfection of what the film is trying to do. Like, it is in the first 10 minutes, you know what the film is about, and every following minute is just reinforcing those elements. Each step with each character more and more.
Yeah.
And the way
I felt that too.
And the way it did it visually was the thing that really surprised me. Well, especially because Guillermo, but like, I don't know, he's definitely on a whole another level of directing now, and it's so exciting seeing him, you know, pull it off with such, like, it just seems so easy. Like, watching it didn't seem like he was trying to be artistic or do some crazy shots. Like, he did these very unique looking designs, but he did them as minimalist as you could have imagined them, you know, like anyone could have done some like crazy camera movements or stuff, but it was, everything felt like you were there. Yeah. And it had purpose.
I agree with that, because I remember seeing what is it, Pan's Labyrinth? And I'm comparing it to this one, and the leap of, you were saying, like, the visual eye was from 0 to 100. It was that different to me, and usually I don't pay that much attention to that, but I can definitely see his progress.
Yeah.
Well, if
we can
stop
talk
rubbing your eye.
What?
We cut, and then you're like, oh, shit. Crunching up your eyeballs. But, well, I also want to say how the actress was really good. I loved how she acted, and... You're
talking about the lead actress, right?
Yes. What is her name?
Sally Hawkins.
What is her movie name? The movie?
Elisa?
Lisa? Elisa?
Yeah, Elisa.
Elisa, she was so good at, with, like, I liked how her character was. She was not a vulnerable character. It was just like she had a disability, and it was something that just was part of her, you know? And it did trouble her. Like, people usually see me as someone who needs help or can't do anything by herself. But how her internal strength was like a fist.
Yeah.
And she challenged herself, and then she, like, ended up going through with the crazy idea that she had, and even everyone around her was like, no, that's crazy, you can't do it. She's like, no, I gotta do it. And then she did it.
Yeah, I loved all the performances. Like, Sally Hawkins, I've only seen her in Paddington 1 and 2, and she was a pretty cool mom. But in this film, she is like a whole living, breathing person as this Elisa character.
Yes.
And the character is mute throughout the film, but I mean, it is like she has the most to say, and she says everything without saying it. Yes. So, and it's a very, like, her performance is very, like, I want to say, like, low key. Like, it would have been so easy for someone to really exaggerate the muteness, like, by grunting a lot. She, like, even when she was very upset, it, like you were saying about her strength, she always maintained her composure. Yeah. But she was, you know, you could still see the frustration on her. Yeah. And just her character was so so sophisticated. Like
Yeah.
you could tell that she thought a lot about a lot of things,
Oh yeah.
and that she was really internal, but
Yeah.
that she also had that wanting to become external, like with people. But you know, she only had a couple of friends,
Yeah.
and none of them sees her how she thinks she sees herself.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't see herself as incomplete.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And it makes a lot of sense that whenever she was arguing at one point with the guy that was painting, that she said he sees me, which she was talking about the man, the amphibious man. Like he sees me as a complete person, not as an incomplete person.
Yeah. All the other actors did amazing. Octavia Spencer. She plays Zelda, was an awesome character.
Yes, she was so funny.
Michael Shannon plays the villain. I love Michael Shannon in basically all his films.
He was so scary.
Yeah. And he did the same thing. Like his performance was so like down to earth and human, yet you could still feel like they have a lot of things internalizing that are like boiling inside of them.
Yeah.
And then it all comes out at the end, which is so like immaculate the way this film plays out. You have Doug Jones plays the amphibious man, which is probably one of the greatest things of the movie is how amazing his costume looks. Like when we first see him, I was like, oh, this is CGI, and then like throughout the film, you're like, oh, that's a costume.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially when they touch him like this. Yeah. Oh my god.
It is literally one of the best monster designs I have ever seen. You know, like down to the scale. Each scale has a purpose. Like, I mean, everyone knows Guillermo del Toro is obsessed with monsters, and him only having one monster in this film really shows how much like he put into that just one that makes the entire film.
Yeah, he really did. Like you could, like you were saying, how he had scales and everything. But my most impressive part was that some strands lit up, had that blue color, and it was so perfect. Like, do you think that part was real too? Like, it was part of the actual...
Oh, yeah. LED lights or something.
Oh, that was really impressive.
It seemed like his eyes were on like a machine, kind of, because he had the eyelids that were flicking on throughout.
They were sideways, right?
And then he had the gills that would flap up randomly. They probably had some guy controlling all the stuff in sync.
Yeah.
But the performance that Doug Jones does within the costume is really great too. You know, he does a good job, you know, acting human enough to where it's believable, but also still acting like, you know, what you would imagine an amphibious beast would act like, you know.
Yeah.
And his like tics and stuff. I never felt like there was a guy behind the costume. Yeah. So another great thing about this movie, or at least in my opinion, that I really enjoyed, was the music. I thought the music was on point all of the time. I mean, this film starts, like the first 2 minutes of the film literally set you in what you're going to experience visually and especially musically. Like the themes, like there were so many times where I was like, is this a song from that time period or is this the score?
Yeah.
Like it was just so connected with the fabric of the time period. The pianos and like, you know, the like...
Oh, yeah.
Like all that music could have been real music.
Yeah.
I don't even know, but...
It sounded perfect.
Yeah, and it fit the entire film. You know, all the musical pieces that are played throughout TVs or whatever. Like, it's just... I don't know, there was such a heavy emphasis on music as well. And it's so... The other... Well, do you have anything to say on music?
I just liked how it had women singing and they sounded like opera voices.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other thing I really liked, without getting into spoilers, is how in-depth the art is in the film. Like, I keep saying how everything, you know, fits into every... Like, this film feels like a giant picture puzzle. Like, each piece fits with every other piece, you know, like... Music isn't just in the background or in the TVs, like it's a part of the relationship as well. and then the art isn't just, you know, portrayed or showed, like it's a
Yeah.
part of a character.
Yeah.
You know, the sets as well, like everything is so, like, what is the word? You know, when you're like working together, it's like interdependent.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is like interdependent in this film. Like, I don't know how long he was working on this, but out of all his films, this seems like the most crafted. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm so amazed by how well everything fit together.
Mhm.
Like, there's so many moving pieces, and just everything came together.
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind.
It was really amazing.
One other thing that I really loved is the lighting of the film. The film is like beautifully shot. This like, and then the other thing that most people don't know or probably won't care about, but this film was made on like such a small budget. I want to say less than 30 million, or at 30 million. And this
30
film,
million?
yeah, and it was just all the scenes where lighting was just entering or exiting or on characters or off characters. You know, the way he played with lights was like just at another level. Like, the cinematographer and Del Toro were just, I don't know, they were just adding so much depth. And then when the characters had certain peak moments, the light would come on or come off. The color of the light, just the lighting was one thing I think we didn't talk about. But
No, like, I totally agree. Especially when you first go into where the creature is. It's very dark compared to the regular hallway that everyone's passing through.
Yeah.
And it's, like, very subtle when it goes from, like, the creature's room to, like, the hallway. It's like life just keeps going on, even though that thing is, like, basically dying because they're beating him up and stuff.
Yeah.
It makes you get into a deeper emotion, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
At least that's what it made me feel.
Yeah. I mean, I would put the lighting in this film, I would put right beside or right under, like, Blade Runner. Like, it's that good. Like, they're obviously completely different films, but the way... Actually, the way this one plays with light is almost identical to the way the original Blade Runner played with light. Where light was always creeping in. Like, it would, you know, be creeping in from the top, creeping through water, creeping in through, like, open cracks or doors. Like, when a character sees another character somewhere hidden or something, like, there's, like, a sliver of light on them. You know? Like, it's just all the way down to the detail. That must have been a pain in the ass to light, but, I mean, I don't know.
They pulled a very beautiful film out of their sleeves because they put so much effort into it.
Even like the sets were, I don't think we talked about the sets yet, have we? Yeah, so like this, even the sets in the film were just amazing. There was, you know, the facility, people's apartments, houses, just everything felt so like real, like people lived there.
Yeah. And it felt appropriate to their characters.
Oh,
it wasn't, you didn't feel out of place from, like, it matched their persona, I guess. What, I mean, personality. That's what I meant. Like, it felt like it matched their personality. Like, the evil guy, his home felt fake.
Yeah.
You know? And then the Zelda woman's, hers felt very homey, but kind of, like, lonely, you know, I guess. Well, to me, and, like, kind of dirty, you know. Not dirty, messy. And then Eliza's, hers was, I don't know, personalized to hers. I really liked it.
Hers was really minimalist. She only had what she needed.
Oh, yeah.
Because she always went over to her friends.
Oh, and her friends had stuff all over the wall. Yeah.
I know we jumped around a lot, explaining all the things we loved about the film. I guess we can take a second to say what we didn't like.
Oh, what I didn't like?
Yeah.
Actually, I liked everything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, alright, so those are all the...
Yeah, I liked everything.
Those are all the dislikes.
Well, you liked everything too?
Yeah, no, it was like
okay.
a joke.
Oh, okay.
I really want to set something straight because I can see how all the praise that we're giving it and all the praise that it's received, I can see the average moviegoer entering the theater like, oh, this is going to be a intense love story, period piece, drama, suspense. This is going to be an amazing experience. And it is an amazing experience. But the one thing I would say to any average moviegoer, or if you're not super into film or whatever, you do need to understand that this movie operates on its own time. So this isn't like an action film. This isn't, the average suspense love story where it's boom, 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 like shit's happening every 5 seconds. This film, probably my second favorite part of this film is how much time it takes with everyone and with everything to set up the elements. Like, this is, like, it's not slow, but it is a very slow burn. And then once it burns, it, like, lights up in flames.
And it involves you. Like,
yeah. And then, there's so many films that play slowly, and it just feels like they're dragging. Each scene in this film is showing you a character, showing you their morals, showing you a piece of art, showing you, music or the scenery. Like, everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
And I just want to let people know that expect it to be slower than what an average film is.
Yeah.
But it is entirely engrossing at the same time.
Yeah.
Because that's something I have seen with, like, some friends, they'll watch, they're like, oh, it was kind of slow. But,
and then they just say it sucked because it was slow.
Yeah. But I believe that the average person will watch this film and still admire all the pieces we talked about. And if you didn't like it the first time, like, I would tell you to watch it again and maybe you'll see it. I remember the first film that I saw that made me feel the way that this film made me after exiting. It was Drive, and I thought it was the most boring, like, just uneventful thing I'd ever seen. And then it just stayed in my head, just the imagery. And then, like, weeks after, I watched it again, and I was like, oh my god, and I watched it again and again and again, like, and it was just like, I feel like for a lot of people, this could be that film. It has so many layers, like, I can't wait to watch this film again. Like, I know for a fact this film is only going to get better with time. And there's very few films that I can even think about saying that. And we've basically covered everything that I can think of. We are going to cover so much more in the spoilers and go in super detail, spoil the crap out of this movie.
Yeah.
So you have to watch this film point blank. I'm not even recommending it. I'm forcing you to watch this movie. It is probably the most needed to be seen film. It came out in 2017, but it's just now expanding to theaters, so it hands down my favorite film of the year, 2017. Beats out all the competition that I've seen.
It's worth the drive for sure.
Yeah. Even if you have to drive away, like, support these kind of movies, watch them, be patient with it. It will give you what you need.
And a little more that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
These past 4 movies that I watched, I feel like have prepped me to give this movie a 10 out of 10. Because it is so perfect. Like, everything. I can't even add anything because, like I said, it's going to get into spoilers. But I really like this film.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what would you say to, like, someone watching? Like, what would be your, like, quick summary to tell them, like, you need to watch this movie?
Ooh. I'll probably just say it's a love story. And more like a Romeo and Juliet. Like, I'm willing to do everything it takes for you, even though I might die.
Yeah, I didn't even think about Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Yeah.
Alright, so she gave it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Wait, no. Something like this.
So, I mean, we didn't really watch that many movies in 2017, so I guess this would be your best film of 2017.
Yeah.
Alright, so the only thing I want to say before I give my rating is that, you know, living in Alabama, there's a lot of churches here, and a lot of people go to church to worship and, you know, feel good about themselves. And I've always felt this really deep in my heart that I belong in a movie theater. Like, it was my first job. Like, I am, like, intertwined with that place, and I don't even think of it as a building of entertainment. Like, it is, for me, a church, and that's where, like, I inspire and get remotivated and stuff. And this film was, like, the perfect experience to have in, like, that cathedral for me, you know?
Oh,
So,
yes.
like, you know, like, if I go a couple months without watching a film that is great or amazing that inspires me, I feel, like, depressed, you know? Like, I'm missing something in my life. You know, I hear a lot of church people say things like, oh, I gotta go to church this weekend, you know, to, like, reinvigorate themselves. And, you know, film is, if I had to pick a religion at gunpoint, I would pick film, because it is such a, you know, singular experience that someone is forcing you to have. You know, you can read a book and you imagine what you're reading, but in a film you are seeing, hearing, and experiencing everything that was made specifically to be watched in that environment.
Yeah.
You know, with a loved one, but in silence. Everything's black. The only thing that exists is that film.
Yeah.
And I really think you should watch this film in a theater if you can. But yeah, I mean, there's very few films where I'm watching it and I literally lose myself. After the first 20 minutes, I did not exist as a human being. I was only a vessel, like, flying through whatever this experience, you know, was giving me. And, like, I'm, like, rethinking my top 5 films of all time. And
My whole life?
yeah,
I'm just
like,
kidding.
I can't even decide where this falls, but I know for a fact it falls right behind Her, which is probably the most important film I've ever seen in my life. And, I mean, this film is, like, hands down a 10 out of 10 for me, too. Like, it is so flawless. You know, like, it just blows my mind how many pieces fit with everything else. Like, and when I give it 10 out of 10, it doesn't mean it's a perfect film, but it's perfection in what it was trying to get. You know, like, if you love action movies, obviously this isn't going to be a 10 out of 10 out of you.
Yeah.
And I dare you to challenge yourself to rate a movie based on what the movie is trying to be.
Yeah.
And this film is obviously trying to be a fairy tale love story set in this time period, and it does all of that so immaculately that I can't even downgrade it from a 10 out of 10. Like, he's literally proven himself, to me, like, as a life-changing director. There's, like, I can count all the directors that I would, like, die getting to the movie theater just to watch their film. And he has always been one, but now he has moved up so high in the list that I have to, like, rewrite that shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, if you like films, or you want to experience what, like, a true auteur, artistic, you know, just pitch perfect film is, you need to watch this movie. Like,
Yeah. Go watch it.
it's amazing. Thanks for watching Cineverm. You know, we're still working out the kinks. Got a lot of stuff coming up and progress that we're making. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe. Even more important, share this review to people. You know, and even more important than that, if you watch this movie and you like it, tell other people to watch it. You know, this is not big Hollywood. This is small indie. And I know he's getting a lot of recognition for, like, Golden Globes and all that, but he still needs people to go watch the movie in theaters.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this film, most of his film, he has so many films that weren't even made. It makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
So, like, just, you know, do whatever you can if you love this art form and keep it alive.
Yes.
But yeah, leave in the comments what you thought about the film. If it's not a 10 out of 10, we don't want to hear it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we respect all opinions.
Just kidding. He's just kidding, guys.
But yeah.
But yeah, leave a comment. It will really.
Yeah, like things you didn't like or you did like. You know, this is fresh coming out of the theater, so maybe we're blinded by the first experience. You know, there's many films I've seen that I was like, whoa, fuck. And then I watched them again and I was like, oh, shit. So, you never know. But.
Downgrade? Just kidding. But yeah. Bye.
Bye.